Hello and welcome. Welcome to the series, What Does It Mean to Find Your Voice? My name's Cordelia and I help people connect to their core, find their voices and become more fully expressed. My background is in performing arts, in opera, and today I'm sitting here with Emilija Ellen.
Hello everybody.
An amazing actress who I've been privileged to be in a production with. Emilija is an international actress who's done all kinds of work. Her background in theatre and stage and TV and movies and also voiceover work. So, hello.
Hello.
Yeah. So, Emilija, Finding Your Voice. We chose a title for today, Finding Your Voice as an Actress. And that's the first question that I'd like to give you. You know, how did you as an actress find your voice?
For me, it was definitely a process. It was a progression. And funny enough, for a while, I thought I had it, but actually didn't. Which
I can relate to that.
Which is very interesting. And then when I did realize that I'm actually on the journey of finding my voice, I felt extremely liberated and free.
Yes. So can you speak to just what you mentioned there? You thought you had it, but you actually hadn't, because I can relate to that, which just shows what a big thing it really is.
As an actor, you go through drama school, you go through so much training, right? At the end, when you come off that assembly line, you're like a product.
Yes.
You've got your tools in, you've got your technique, you know how to behave in front of the camera or the stage, and you think, okay, yes, you know, I can get on in this business of acting. It's not a problem. But then you realize that you picked up all these tools and techniques and thoughts and belief patterns from other actors and teachers and whatever's been left through the legacy. And then you realize, actually, no, as a performer, what is it that I want to say? What is my uniqueness? What am I exploring through this art of acting? What am I doing? So when you're out of drama school and you start working, and then when you hit with that realization after a couple of years, you're like, oops, you know, nobody actually talked about that. What is my specific individual creation?
So in that moment when it sort of hit you that you didn't actually have your voice as much as you thought you had, was it a moment in a production? You know, what was happening? What situation were you in?
It was outside, because, you know, as an actor you've got periods when you're working really intensely, and then you've got resting periods, and it was in that exploration when we're supposed to rest, but we are either doing workshops and continue our training. And I remember doing a workshop on how to write. That was something I wanted to explore, and then you sit down and you face this blank page, you know, and the thing is, you write when you've got something to say, right? And the task was, well, say something, write something about you. And I was like, hang on a minute, who am I? What do I want to say? What is my original communication out to the world? I've been through so much training and done so much stage work, and you act and you become other people, but when you have to express yourself as an individual in an original manner, it was a bit of a challenge for me, because you know, the idea of an actor is to go and hide behind somebody else's words, behind somebody else's script. Yes. So yes, that was interesting. And then I just let it simmer and brew.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I've got a process that I've started, and let's see where that is going to take me. And you start asking yourselves questions about who am I, and what do I like, and what am I like as a person, and you go through all of that through that thought process.
Yeah, right. And it's actually a beautiful example, because that's what I call the sort of psychological aspect of voice, of finding your voice. It's a sort of deeply psychological and very connected to our souls and our, the purpose why we're here on the planet. And it's interesting because, I imagine that through all your training, you'd done a lot of physical and emotional work that did expand who you were on a physical and emotional level. But then there was another level that obviously still needed some integrating. Yeah.
It's the communication. It is your, as I call it, your original voice. What is it that you are giving of yourself out to the world through however you want to express yourself? So for me, I had to go back into stillness and the quiet to find my voice, to drown out everything that I've been taught to believe and other beliefs that I just accepted at face value without ever questioning them. And I was like, okay, what is it, this thing that inside of me that's trying to bubble up and say something?
Yeah. And so in the process of going into silence, and we're going to be talking about silence, but what were the steps, if you sort of look back on that process now, and of really finding your voice? Because I heard you say, it was liberating. So which moments were did you feel that opening of a sort of liberation in connection to your expression and voice?
So for me, actually, it was writing down what they call your stream of consciousness. Just writing things down, sitting down every day and finding about 5 minutes. And I've got this creative diary that I have, and just writing whatever came to my mind, whatever was brewing there, whatever niggles I had, or whatever was frustrating me, or even if I had a great day, I would just sit and write this thing, this constant dialogue that's going on in our heads. It's like, I need to put that down on the paper. I need to clear all that clutter before I can hear. And it was through that process. It was in 2016 when I was doing it religiously. Every day, that page of my calendar was full. It was just nothing special. It was just whatever I was going through on that particular day. And then when all that busyness and all that noise was actually transcribed and written down, and it was put out in the physical universe, then I started going through moments of quiet when I allowed myself to talk and speak to myself. And then I remember it was one of those moments when I was writing things down, when the penny dropped. I was like, my goodness, this little voice of me, who I am, is trying to say something. And it was really, really strange, because the other thing about me personally is I really don't like to talk about myself. I'm a very private person. I guess that's why I act. I like to be other people. Don't ask me about me, because I'm not interesting in that way. Other people are more interesting to me. So for me, it wasn't even the voice, Cordelia, for me. It was the space that I found inside of me.
Yes.
Right? It was this expansion and the softness, and just the space where I was just allowed to be without the need to constantly talk and do things. Right?
Yes, and that is so profound.
Yes,
that silence of just sinking down, and it's as if everything that isn't of true value just drops away, and only the things that are really essential remain. Would you say that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And also what you said really stood out for me is the small voice. Because it is. That's how it starts. Yeah. Yes.
You realise it's always been there.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's so it's drowned out by all these other upbringing, social conditioning, whatever we decide to do in life, or however we want to conform to the society, so that we succeed in the survival on this
Right.
planet, right? And
Right.
then you've got your authentic voice screaming at you, actually, today, I want to go and do the cartwheels in the garden. I don't want to go and make money. That's the voice. That's the voice.
And I'm pointing to you because this is like, listen to that. That is the voice.
It's the voice of your child, your inner child that, you know, we grow up, it's always there and it's so important, you know, and you know, for me, it was also then realizing and seeing all the patterns of the society. Whenever you do get that voice that says, let's go out and play, let's not worry about, you know, the mundane, everyday, daily stuff. And he goes, oh, no. That's not how we behave. You're grown up now. The guilt that comes in with it, with your the expression of your authentic self, is just a process.
Yes, it really is. And like something about cultivating that still place with that in that silence and allowing that voice, the small one, where that's the place where I find true inspiration. So that's a place where I really get a sense of what I'm meant to do next.
Yes, you said that. You said it right. It's cultivating and nurturing. And once you find it, as I say, we live in such a busy world, and with all the social media, with all the gadgets that we're surrounded by on an everyday basis, it's so easy to get distracted. You know, let's watch Netflix, let's check out the YouTube, you know, let's have the music in the background, and then you realise, no, this has to be looked after. Switch off all the noise and just sit in silence. And the other thing for me, it was very important to find it, because I'm not one of that. I love yoga, but I really don't like to meditate. I'm one of those people that just cannot sit still.
Okay.
And it's okay, I've accepted that about me. So realizing that once you find that little space within yourself that you need to nurture and keep quiet so you can hear what's saying to you, that for me was kind of similar to what people find in the process of meditation, that stillness. So, you know, we find our truth through different avenues and ways. And
yes, I think that's really beautiful to say. That's really important, because everybody will have
their own
a unique path. So talking about silence, I love the way Emilija embodies something and really has found wisdom about silence. And yes, I really do, because it's a fundamental part of actually finding your voice, as you've already said. So what would you like to say about silence?
For me, it was resistance at first, because I am by nature quite a private person, and I spend a lot of my days in silence. You know, I'm a quiet person. I like not to have lots of noise around me. For a while, I thought, my goodness, how am I going to fit into this society that's constantly out there, twittering, chattering, having an opinion, you know, and now you have to be on this social media and that social media to be seen. And I'm like, this is so not me. I've got my own way of, you know, communicating. So at the beginning, I was like resisting. I was like, I mustn't be as quiet and I mustn't be as silent. I have to talk, I have to contribute. And I was like, no, that's just not me. And it was just allowing it to take over. My theatre background is in what we call devised, improvised theatre. So we create work from scratch, from silence. There isn't a script. You just show up, you know, you're rehearsing, and whatever it's creating in the rehearsal room is your work. So by nature already like that. But through the process of understanding the stillness and the silence within me, I realized it's a bit like light and dark. You cannot have light without darkness, and you cannot have darkness without light. So you cannot just have the silence, you also have to have the sound and the noise. It's about balancing Balancing the both.
Yes. And there's something about the silence can become very loud. Right?
Yeah, we've all been in those situations.
Yeah. And
awkward silences and you're like, it just, you know, you talk.
And or even just exploring that, you know, the place where the silence is very loud, for me has often something to do with that which is not being said out loud. And it's you know, sometimes I think it's just below people's consciousness in a funny sort of way. But it's powerful.
It's very powerful. When you think about it, when you think about anything that you do in life through your creative process, even if it's just preparing a meal, you need to still yourself first.
Yeah.
And then out of that comes your work.
Yes.
So
yes. Because I have quite a few people that come, you know, for voice work, and they're saying they're not being heard. And I also know that experience in me, and it's really interesting because the other side of the coin of not being heard is that many people can't hear. Just literally, as you said, there's no space to actually hear other people because our minds are so busy and so full and there's so much noise that unless we already can hear ourselves, we're actually not able to hear other people. And I think that's really important
silence,
to say.
You're right, plays a huge part in being able to listen. So, and conversations, when you look at the communication between people, we've all come across people who just continuously originate and talk and talk and talk, and you can't get a word in there. And I always like to liken communication to a dance, right? You've got two people and they know the steps.
Yeah.
So one says something, the other one responds. One says something, the other one responds, right? But if you have somebody just coming at you, you're like, oh, you know, I don't know where I'm going. So, yes, look, it's work. We're not perfect.
No.
We all have days when you just want to, you know,
splurge out
and just like a you know, there's this vomit of words, but
there's a lot of that. There's a lot
of that going on at the moment, and we talked about it earlier about communication being an art and treating it as an art form. And you know, I said you can really see where we're at as people and as a civilization in terms of this art form of communication, because there is so much negativity and so much criticism and so much bad energy sometimes being put on the social media. And that's not what it's all about. No. You know, we have to, through communication, we have to be able to help each other. Yeah. Right. So I think people are starting to learn that it's like walking on a tightrope.
It is. And I'd love to pick up 2 points that relate to that you've just spoken to, and that the splurging out and the vomiting out. So it's always nice to look at, you know, what actually is my motivation to talk. It's like underneath all my thoughts, or what's there, where is my speaking coming from? What is, you know, that deeper urge to express? Right?
Yeah. It is. It's so true, because words and the way we use them and how we use them and the tone we use, it can liberate you, it can help you, it can enlighten you, but it can also crush you. It can really crush you. So it's understanding that with this voice we have and the power of our own communication, we can enlighten, or we can, you know, shove people back into darkness. Right. And I always like to think of this Sufi saying about speaking. They say that your words, they have to pass through 3 gates. The first is what you are saying, is it true? Right? If it's not the truth, the words go back, right? Then you think about the second gate, is it necessary? Right? Is it necessary? And then the third gate, is it kind? Yeah. And I know this might sound out there, you know, but it's a virtue to aspire to. And even if you achieve it once a day, it makes a huge difference.
right?
But I think there's lots of wisdom in that saying.
It's massive, and I love that saying because it speaks exactly that place, the urge to communicate. If we just apply those simple 3 gates, like true, necessary, and kind, we actually learn a lot about ourselves. I mean, we do, and why am I needing to talk? Do I need to justify myself? Am I just proving my point? If I'm proving my point, why am I proving my point? All of these things, Yeah,
do I want to, do I want to get under that person's skin? Do I want to, make them feel really bad about themselves? All that kind of stuff. It's a game. Communication can also become a game. It can also become a control mechanism, right?
Yes.
Unacknowledged communication is the worst thing you can do to somebody.
Yes, and I think often, unfortunately, it's just a form of control.
It is.
And controlling with mental dominance.
Yeah.
Who has the best argument shoots the other person down, right? Yeah,
exactly.
And that's why I like to bring in the aspect, and this is connects to the work that I do with people, of emotion and emotive speaking. And that plays to the second point that I wanted to pick up on, which is you were talking about in the work you do, in the acting work. It emerges, and in order to allow it to sort of emerge, we need to be aware of what we're feeling. Yeah. And there's a way also when we can communicate also with that give and take that you speak to. If we, instead of having an argument with somebody, actually drop down and own how we're feeling, and then we can start to communicate with a level of honesty and vulnerability that is connected, to a sort of inquiry into what it is without needing to be right. That's where that sort of a beautiful sort of, how should I say it, a beautiful emergence of true communication can happen that benefits everybody, right? Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. It's look, being aware of what I call your emotional landscape, how are you feeling today, what's going on, every day we wake up and we don't always feel the same. And we have to also remember that we live in a body, right? That the body's going through its own things. Wake up with a bit of a niggle in our neck, and so we're fortunate as an actors. If you've got good training, you learn how to pinpoint where you are. You look at your body, and then we've got techniques, of movement and shaking things out and waking up the voice and vibrating the voice through your body so that certain things get released.
Yes.
Because you cannot start creating in acting when you need to perform. You cannot start creating if you've got already some sort of emotional discomfort going on.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be discomfort. You can have an amazing day. You could have just fallen in love.
Yes.
But then you need to go on stage and play a really tragic character. You need to learn how to, when you are preparing to go on stage, how to look at where you are emotionally and physically, acknowledge it, let it go, let it be, and then go out there and do what you meant to do.
Yes.
So it's just being aware that, and there's that saying, old Buddhist saying, the body is a temple, but it really, really
it is.
I wasn't, for so many, I was like, oh, rubbish. But then, honestly, because I'm that kind of a person, but then you learn by your own, life teaches you.
Yes.
Actually, it's so much more than just, our thoughts, just waking up and doing the routine. No. You need to check in where you are on a daily basis.
Yes.
And then start from there.
Yes. And it's beautiful because for me, hearing you say that just shows how spiritual acting is.
Yes.
And how it's the same with voice work or singing or what. And I just love it because it takes away the ideas that spirituality needs to be connected to a specific form of meditation or whatever. So it really opens up that, because these are really profound truths, aren't they? Yeah.
Well, if you look at the fact, you know, whether that's your truth or not, that we are spiritual beings, then it's that spiritual being that's creating. You cannot put things into boxes and compartments. You need to be whole.
Yes.
And yes, I mean, in acting, there are stages, and I'm still learning, because first you go out on the stage, you're this young actor, and like, I'm sad. And then you realize, hang on a minute, it's like the piano, there are different notes to sadness. What kind of sadness? Is it grief?
Yes.
You know, is it, how deep does it go? Right? So you need to start playing those tones and notes. And on a couple of years ago, I worked with this amazing theatre director, Brian Asbury. And he, in his work, pushes actors to actually really understand the emotions, to really feel them. What is grief if you lose somebody, right? How does that feel? And in a very safe way, he pushes you to understand what grief is. And grief is it's horrible. It rips you apart. So, you know, when you understand that technically as an actor you should have that level of emotional truth, and you realize, hang on a second. Right? Go out on the stage and doing that grief every single evening for 3 months might break you apart.
Yes.
The same goes for extreme joy.
Absolutely.
Right?
But there's also something in when you actually go into feelings at that depth, you know, like you said, I love the analogy with different octaves or different tones for different emotions. My experience has been that there's actually a gift that comes with them. And as you said, grief is a horrible one, and actually it's a scary one. But there's always a gift, and doing like you were saying, you know, being able to put where you're at aside, and then actually invoking an emotion that might be as strong as what you just described. That is, for me, that's emotional mastery. Because in order to do that, you need to have a level of surrender.
Yes.
And you go into very scary places, and at the same time you're not allowed to stay attached.
That's true.
Right? So that's where it really is like a spiritual practice.
It is. I remember coming across anger for the first time, and now I'm by nature quite a calm person. So, you know, you work through all these emotions, and you always look at what the script needs and what have you. And, you know, there was an anger scene. And I remember for the first time experiencing true anger. Not acted anger, not like I'm just going to be angry at you. That anger, because anger makes you see white or black, and the logical mind switches off. And that's why people kill in anger.
Yes, yes.
You know, crime of passion, because I was like, whoa! So that's what real anger feels like. Completely out of control. So it's not saying you're going to go on the stage and every night experience the thing, but you gain the understanding of what it feels like and where it's coming from.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and how it takes control over your body, and your body experiences it as well.
Yeah.
So, look, it's a process.
Yeah.
Meisner said it takes 20 years to become an actor, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's
And would you say, like, just sort of to wrap it up, would you say that having experienced those deep, profound emotions has actually served you to find your voice?
Yes, absolutely. It's made me feel more of a human being.
Yeah.
Right? Because as an actor, what moves the audience, whether it's film, television, stage, is when you hit those, what we call archetypes within you, what resonates with every single human being. So they experience a sort of they get moved, some sort of catharsis.
Yes, yes.
So that's what it helps you with. It helps you with understanding the human condition.
Yeah.
What it feels like being human. And most of the time, being human is being very vulnerable.
Yes.
But we have put this.
Yes.
Right? We've protected ourselves.
Yes.
But you need to take all that away. Take that shield away to be hit by life, by this. Because life is very dynamic.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's violent in its emotion. It
Yes.
can be in the good way or a bad way. But because we've put the shields on, we don't perhaps experience it.
Yep.
Like, I always go back to the piano because I love piano. When you hit a note, it gets to you. You get that vibration.
Yes.
So now imagine most of our lives, we've got the mufflers on.
Yes.
So you hit that note and that's what we get, the muffled sound. But you will want to take that off, the mufflers off, through your creative process, so you get that, and you go, whoa,
Yes.
I just got the goosebumps, or, oh, I didn't like that, oh, that was crazy, oh, it makes you squirm in your seat, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
our voices are very powerful.
Very powerful, and I love that analogy. And the thing is, when you take those mufflers off and you've had them on a long time, it can be overwhelming.
Yes.
So it needs to have a process of taking them off slowly. And that's also the defences. The defences of where we don't allow ourselves to be touched, or we don't allow ourselves to express an emotion. And that's why I love the arts. And it is because the arts give us the stage or the platform to actually expand our ability to express and to widen the sort of the platform and the sort of palette of expression. It's like we have permission to experience anger, permission to experience grief, and see how we transmit that.
Very true.
Yeah.
It's very true.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm really enjoying this conversation. Very inspirational.
Yes.
It's made me realise many things just by talking to you.
Yeah, well, it's been lovely talking to you, Emilia. And yes, so
thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming, and thanks for taking the time. I know how busy you are.
My pleasure, no worries.
And if anybody wants to somehow be in touch with you, or see some of your movies, or have some coaching, where can they find you?
They can certainly look me up. I'm on Spotlight, and they can find my agent's details there. And if you've not figured out by now, I'm quite private, so you will not find me on many social media at all.
Right.
In fact, everything that you'll find about me on Google has been put there by other people.
So yeah, right.
So, but yes, I am definitely. You can definitely find me that way through my agent, and then I'll be very happy to get in touch and help out as much as I can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you're interested in my work, it's voicepowertraining.org. That's my website. So thanks for watching.
Thank you. Bye bye.